The follow-up is simple. Ask a question, listen to the answer, then follow up. I'm your host, Noah Kozlov. Enjoy.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Follow-Up Podcast. I'm Eden, and this is my dad, Noah, and every week we sit on my bed and have a different conversation about something I want to talk about. And this week, my dad's going to introduce the topic.
Yeah, so a little bit different. And oftentimes we either you come up with the idea or we come up with it together. This week, I came up with the topic.
Right.
And so my question to you is, and this is what we're going to talk about, is what do you think about? Because I always know what's on my mind. I oftentimes know what's on Mom's mind. Mom oftentimes knows what's on my mind. But I don't really know what you are thinking about during the day.
Well, sometimes, I'm going to start with, sections of the day.
Okay.
Usually, when I come home from the park or something like that, I'm thinking about what we're going to have for dinner. And, right now, didn't you say last night that we were going to have pasta for dinner?
Mm-hmm. Pasta with, you said you wanted the fusilli pasta with some chicken sausage, pesto, and
cheese?
And tomatoes. Well, yeah, and parmesan.
cheese.
But right, and little tomatoes. Okay, so we got that out of the way.
That's out of the way.
Yeah, but so you think about that. Do you think about that when you're at the park? Like, what are we having for dinner? Or are you just playing?
Sometimes
Okay.
I think about that. Depends on what the day, but well, not what I mean. What the day is not Wednesday. I mean what I'm feeling.
Right.
But I think about what was going on that day, later in the day, the exciting things of the day and the bad things of the day.
Okay, so later in the day you think about what happened already.
Let's talk about the episode about tennis camp. When I was at tennis camp.
Okay.
I was thinking later that day. I was thinking about what I did, what was exciting. Maybe thinking about what are we gonna do tomorrow? Are we gonna do what? Well, we did water activities. So what are we gonna do water activity? And if we do, what are we going to do? Are we gonna use water balloons? Are we gonna use the hose? Are we gonna get the teachers wet?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. So you're reflecting on the day,
on the day,
and then looking ahead, thinking about what you might be doing tomorrow. Yeah,
say it was, I think Wednesday, we were doing overhead smashes. No, it was
right.
Yeah. So I was thinking
Yeah.
the next day I think we were doing volleys.
Okay.
Or no, rallies.
Okay.
Rallies, and what are we gonna do the next day? And then after it was Thursday when we did rallies. Then I was wondering, are we gonna do? I liked rallies today. Are we going to do that again tomorrow?
So do you?
Or are we gonna learn something different?
Knowing ahead of time? All right, would you rather at the end of the time on Thursday at say tennis camp, would you have wanted to know what the schedule is, what you'd be doing Friday, or did you like going into Friday wondering what it was going to be like and being surprised?
Depends on what the activity is. So in tennis camp, I liked wondering, but maybe in another activity like fashion camp, I would no, not that. Maybe cooking camp. I would like to know what we were doing the next day.
Okay.
In fashion camp, we knew, but
because those are longer projects.
Yeah.
What about school? Do you
School.
like knowing what your schedule is the next day?
Yeah, I do. But I also but sometimes I like when things are surprises, but I also depends on what what is different.
Mm-hmm.
If writing's in a different spot of the day, I don't care. Knowing the next day. But if we're having a fire drill, let's say, and missing 15 minutes of science,
right.
I would like to know that.
Right, because then you'd be disappointed.
Because I would be disappointed because science is one of my favorite subjects. So I would like to know that in advance so I know that I'm going to miss it.
That's understandable. Yeah, and that's oftentimes from what Mom and I have always read, is what kids are thinking about of trying to plan things out and then how to deal with changing the plan,
right.
Which we watched that episode of Sesame Street when you were little, and it was always changing the plan. So Mom tried.
And when they did the dance video.
Yeah, so Mom tried to make it seem like that was a fun thing. Like, oh,
Right.
changing the plan. She's not gonna cry, changing the plan, and it worked. And it works. So you've got to be able to roll with the punches.
Right.
What about
Like there's probably with most things always gonna be another chance to do it. Well, most
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's not
Most
exactly. Yes. Like if you missed a flight to space, there might not be.
There might not be,
chance.
but there's not a. But there's like me, a regular human. There's not that much of a chance that a regular human's going to space. But astronauts also would not miss a flight.
They
to
wouldn't
space.
miss the flight. No. What about first thing in the morning when you wake up? Did you?
First thing in the morning when we like turn on the news, like sometimes or most times you explain things to me of like what's going on.
Right.
Most times.
Mhm.
So I'm like after you explain it, I'm like saying that to myself again and then wondering more about it.
For example.
For example, like
What's going on
Right
in the
now.
news right now? Yeah.
Afghanistan, like
Okay.
the troops are leaving.
Uh-huh.
So like you explained more about that, like maybe I think on Monday, like more about that because I didn't really understand, but now I understand. So I understand more that they're saying,
Well, okay. And so now, all right,
and
so now
like
that you
building
understand.
on to that.
Sure. So now that you understand what it's about, or as much as I understand, I guess, and
I
then
guess.
and then you've seen that story unfold during the week. What have you been thinking about?
I've been thinking about like what's going on there at this moment
Mhm.
because it's like what is going on? Are there like people everywhere, or is it like no one's? Or
Is everybody off the streets, or are people on the streets living their lives?
right?
And
Like meaning like
and
that.
like why are
Or is like the airport crowded? Or is it like
Right.
the airport? It's like everybody's rushing there.
to get out? Yeah.
Right. So is the airport crowded at this time? Is there like an airplane flying at this time?
Mhm.
Like to go to Afghanistan? Or is it crowded? Or is there like no one there?
Yeah, I mean, and certain things that I think about there is, could the situation have been different? What can we do to help? Is it out of, like our control personally? What is there? Can you donate somewhere? What can you do to help? Because the scenes seem awful, but unfortunately, on the news you see scenes like that to a certain extent, and natural disasters and people suffering frequently. Which so I spend a lot of my time thinking about that stuff during the day. Actually, just how can you help people somehow?
What's on your mind sometimes in the day?
That's a deep question.
Like sometimes,
A lot of times it's work.
right?
A lot of times it's that. A lot of times it is what time should I start making dinner? Do I have enough time to do that? But no, but
Do you have enough time?
a lot of the time is work. A lot of the time is what's best for you. Like, I don't know, just certain situations
Like,
just pop in my
things.
head and just think like, did we
Like
do the
that.
best thing? Did we
Like-
do the best thing for Eden here, or
Is it that have already happened situations, or is it situations that haven't happened
both? Good question.
that
Good
like
question.
might have? Sorry.
Good question. Both. And like now it's thinking about, all right, what's second grade going to be like? Are you going to be happy in your classes? What else can we do to supplement your education? How do we make sure that you are continuing to thrive and be the best person that you can be? A lot of that is, it's all those different phases of parenting. Like when you're an infant, it's all right, how do we keep this kid alive? And then
Yeah.
it's how do we make sure that you
Right.
that you continue to thrive in an appropriate way, so where it's not
In
too
lots
much
of
pressure
ways.
and all sorts of things. Yeah. And then I don't know, maybe like a second or two a day I think about like, is mom happy? No, I'm just kidding. I think about mom. I think about mom a lot. I think about our families. Yeah, I do. I spend a lot of time.
Thinking
I
about
spend a lot
different
of time
things.
thinking. Yeah, and sometimes it's too much time. I think that I get lost in my thoughts a
Yeah.
bit, and I need to snap out of it and focus a bit more.
Sometimes I get lost in thought, and then I just like, what's happening? And then I just look around and I'm like, oh yeah.
That's interesting. All right, well, I'm glad we did this. I'm always interested because sometimes I look at. You ask me what I think about. Sometimes I look at you. Maybe you're eating or when we're not talking or when you finish playing or something. I don't know. And I just think, I just wonder what she's thinking about. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm glad we did this. All right, I love you.
Love you.